Hi, everybody. I am here today with one of my favorite people that I've met recently, Dr. Edward Arenson, and this is his absolutely beautiful wife, Aura. And I wanted to bring these wonderful people in here because they have a story to tell that I think is quite fascinating, and a story that we don't usually hear in these little parts, straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So, first of all, where are you from?
Well, I grew up in Ohio, but for the last 30 years I've been living in Colorado.
And you, Aura?
I was born in Guatemala City, and I moved very early in my age to New York, live in Brooklyn.
That must have been quite a transition.
Correct. I was lucky enough to go to a French school, and we learned English and French, but the English that we learned was the British. So of course, coming to New York is totally different, culture. So where I had to study culture, I work, and then I had been living in Colorado since 1995.
So, how was it for you leaving Guatemala?
Was a quite of experience because I was just kind of not rebellious, but I just didn't want to continue living the culture that women are so submissive and nothing have any future, and I didn't want for my father to plan in my future and everything. And then your degrees and everything. And back in the 70s, you don't have anything.
So that rebellion, how did it affect your relationship with your family?
I didn't spoke with my father for over 10 years. And finally I said, you know what, it's time to change it. But it was very hard. I came with a student visa. I came to the States to a student visa for 2 years. And, I did all the things that you're supposed to be doing. And English, was just kind of polished. I never lost my accent. But for my family, it was kind of because they were...
You don't hear an accent, do you? I don't hear an accent.
I think she's just she speaks so beautifully that I could listen to you all day.
Anyway, that was very, very hard. And I decided to stay. I didn't want to come back after the 2 years, and I did what legally what you're supposed to be doing, and I stay.
So when you approached your father after that 10 years, was he more willing to make and rebuild that relationship?
Yes, yeah, it was a little change. It took a little time, and it's water under the bridge, and it just was very, very comfortable to hear. Of course, he changed, kind of an attitude, but yeah.
Well, everybody can grow. Everybody grows.
Of course. Yeah.
So now, where did you meet this wonderful gentleman?
Let's see. 20 years ago, I started working as a manager of a lab in the same clinic he was working at, and he approached to me actually because he saw at the Star of David. We are Jewish, so he came and asked me questions very this Latin girl, have a little more. So, and that's the way to develop a very good friendship.
So actually, the Star of David helped him break the ice.
Well, we would have gotten to know each other anyhow because we were working together in the same office. But I mean, when she walked in for the first day, I said, "Oh my goodness, this is really unusual."
Well,
find out more.
You were right. You were right. Good move on your part. Very good move on your part. So now, you continued to work, and you both worked together for how long?
It's about 6 years. Yeah, we just worked together, and we got a little closer of our friendship to the point that sometimes we need to talk away from, just at that point we're still friends. To talk away from the bad environment of work, and we made a little sign with a martini glass with an olive. So
That's so cute.
you just
That's so cute. So yeah, you would want to avoid the hospital chatter, I would think, because that can be that can go off the rails pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
So now, here you guys are. You're living in McNabb's Cove at this point, in a home that you purchased to be a summer home.
Correct.
Originally. And so tell me how it felt when you made that move more quickly than you thought you were going to have to.
You want to start?
Well, when we bought the house, actually, we made a decision to purchase the property in 2018. But we got an agreement with the owners that we wouldn't close until 2019. And we got here in August, and of course all our stuff showed up on the last allowable day. So I had to go back to work and leave Aura to fend for herself, to get it through customs and everything. And then we had to come back in October, and we came back for Celtic Colors anyhow. And then we said, okay, now we'll be back next June or something, and we'll spend 6 months, and then we'll have to go back. And at that point, we didn't know anything about the pandemic. It wasn't the reason for it. It was that we loved the place, we fell in love with Cape Breton, and we found this beautiful property, and it was hard to make the decision to purchase that. There were a lot of complications and a lot of worries and anxiety, but we did it, and here comes the pandemic.
Yeah, we were here in February because we work in August, October, and then February. We were here, and then we come back. And it just was kind of scary.
Scary, but really lucky that you had it to come to.
It was a blessing.
Absolutely. But the day that you decided that you had to come, what happened on that day?
Well, this is a good story, really, because on March 13th, which was a Friday, okay, things were just starting to get rolling. And I wasn't aware of what was going on in the hospital because I was working in a clinic as part of the hospital, seeing outpatients, doing wound care, and I was still seeing my brain tumor patients in another office. And I went into the lunchroom where the doctors have lunch. And one of the ICU doctors that I've known for many years came up to me and she said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Just doing my job like I have for the last, God knows how many years." And she said, "Well, I don't think you should be here. At the hospital is filling up with coronavirus patients, and they're sick, and they're in the ICU, and you're going to catch it." She said, "I'd like you to leave, and I think if you're thinking about retiring, you should do it now."
Wow.
So I listened to her because she knows what she's talking about, and when she's worried about something. So I came home that night. I finished work a couple hours later, and I left. And I told everybody that I wouldn't be back. And I got home and I told Aura about this, and I was thinking, okay, we'll have a week to get ready and get all packed up and figure out what we should take and what we shouldn't. And she said,
well, the thing is, when he came in, I hadn't heard the news, and I started feeling uneasy. And when he told me, I said, "No, we're leaving tomorrow." That was Saturday. And he says, "No, I have things, maybe just, next week, we take." I said, "No." So we decided that Sunday would be a better day. I packed what I could. Of course, because of this situation, we contacted an immigration lawyer from Halifax to give us, the pointers. So she started telling us, give us guidance as per, bring your papers of your house, so you show that you have property, you purchase of things, and don't bring too much items because it can be, the stress in this situation. And who knows if you can cross it. But if you have any problems, give me a call. I will be on call for you 24/7 if that's the case.
So being a mature man who, by mature I mean who listens to his wife, because first of all, she's usually right, and second of all, even if she isn't, it's better to do what she says in most cases. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of intelligence, as far as I'm concerned. So I said, okay. I said, I'm not going to say no and then have something happen at the border and have it be on me. So we're going. So at 5 a.m., I went home Friday afternoon. 5 a.m. Sunday morning, we were on the road, and we had no intention of getting on a plane, so it was going to be a long drive.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was running through your mind when you pulled away from the driveway?
I said, oh, it's everything. I started praying everything that I knew in many languages anyway. So
She concluded all the Greek gods that she could think of, every one.
no, but it was just kind of terrified. So we stopped in places. Luckily, I had enough food to pack. I said, we have enough food for 2 or 3 days, and we are not drinks and everything, we're gonna stop. So we switched driving, and after 13 hours, we got to a hotel in the border of North Dakota. So we stayed there, and in that night, I couldn't just sleep. And I said, you know what, why don't you just get a little wine or something, we can order it here if you don't want to go to have. I said, no, I said, nothing. We're just going to tough it up and everything. And there was a snowstorm I could have. So that in the morning, we just, again, got ourselves and start getting closer to the border.
Yeah. And what about when you get to the border? Then what?
Well, I'll just go back one step. So we pulled out and went 1 block, and then here comes this freight train, and it must have been gone on forever. And we had been instructed to get to the border crossing as early as possible because you don't want a tired officer there. You want to catch them when they're fresh and after a good night's sleep. So we were later than we wanted to be, but not that bad. So we reached the border in Manitoba at about 9 a.m. And as we approached it, it was like one of those experiences where your life is flashing in front of you. We were so worried about what was going to happen. And we tried to be calm, and the lady was very polite, very businesslike, not friendly, but businesslike, asked us all the questions. We answered the questions honestly, and she said, you're good. And we drove through, and then we went,
Oh, I bet. Yeah, it's scary.
and then we dared look at each other, and we didn't need to say anything. It was like, oh my goodness, we made it. So we didn't know at that time that within the next 24 hours, the border was going to be closed.
And there was a sunny day, beautiful day with a lot of snow and cold, bitter cold. So they approached, there was 2 ways to go and, kind of go to the border. But prior night, I had a dream that we were driving and accidentally we get off and we back into the border to the U.S. So I told him, no, not to take the chances. Let's go farther north. So we took the cross-Atlantic.
Better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
So I was reading in your book that, where you stopped and the things that you observed. What is your favorite province, aside from Nova Scotia, in Canada?
British Columbia.
Mm-hmm. Because you were an avid bird watcher, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And have obviously you've been there.
I have.
Oh, yeah.
Several times hiking, more than birding, actually, on the West Coast Trail.
Do you share that passion for bird watching?
Sometimes sometimes they are very curious birds, and I paint them. He brings them
Oh, that's beautiful.
and I paint it, and that's as far. But has developed the liking of the birds because we have now the house and it's the backyard. Everybody comes in.
There's only certain birds that will hold still long enough for her to paint them.
You could have a little posing house. They could just like pose in there. That'd be great. That would be interesting. You could make a fortune with posing birds. That's funny. Well, you see, I find that curious. My daughter just got 2 birds, and I think, and I'm really worried that she's going to give them to me for Christmas, because I'm petrified of birds. And her idea would be to take care of my bird phobia. She would just plant these birds in the middle of my house, because that's her sense of humor. Anyway, I mean, I have a respect for them, but I'm just, and it's just a weird phobia where I don't want them to touch me, their bodies. I don't know what that's about. Been like that since I was a little child. Yeah. But as far, I know other bird watchers, by the way. I do know some people who go to other countries all the time.
Yeah. Oh, that's what.
I think that's cool. That's, hey, you got to have a hobby. You may as well have one that's very pretty and rewarding, you know.
I think so.
Birds are beautiful. They're beautiful to look at.
Yeah, it's fun trying to find rare birds, and I've had a lot of fun doing that with the people here.
So now, what's next? What are you going to do? You guys going to, you know, are you going to try to stay here for the rest of your lives, or go back and forth? And...
Well, what we did is to request an extension for 12 months. And it seems that offices, because of this virus, are 150 days behind in processing the paperwork. I'm not saying anything. For us, it's better. Well. But for me, it creates an anxiety just to thinking about, you know, going back, and who knows how long it's going to do the situation. And, you know, but I just love it here. This is the only place, and it's going to sound corny, but it's not, that I finally find the peace that I was looking all these years. I mean, I grew up in a beautiful country with a lot of birds, trees, and you name it. I live in the big city, was excited when you were young, and, you know, but this one is like, as I can say, finally.
You know, I've often heard people say that Cape Breton reaches out and hugs you emotionally. And I understand what that means, because I grew up here. I've never lost my appreciation for the people and the stories and the feelings and the way they, you know, the way they treat each other. I mean, you're always going to find a bad apple here and there, but for the most part, the people here kind of tend to just kind of let that be and say, just the way they are. You'll hear that a lot. It's just the way he is. Just the way.
We've encountered a little of that.
Yes, and you will.
Not much.
No. And you will encounter more of the good-hearted people that will go out of their way to help you than you will those bad apples.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I myself have lived in cities as well. Yeah, it's exciting for a little while, very short little while. Mm-hmm. I can't say that I didn't grow or learn greatly from living in those areas, but I always come back here. Something drags me back, whether it be the ocean, family, but mostly it's got more to do with the atmosphere, because as much as I love my children and my family and my friends, I've always been a very independent thinker. So
correct.
Here I am, and I've pretty much decided that I'm going to stay here for the rest of my days. And I'm so content with that decision. So for you guys, I mean, here you are. It's got to be very difficult. I mean, both of you professionals, both of you had your careers just, it's like snap your fingers and wow, I'm someplace different. How was it to decompress? You had to decompress, right?
Yeah, it took a while, and I still feel like the weekend is the weekend. And so we behave a little bit differently on the weekend than we do the rest of the week. I don't think we're going to completely shed that. And it took a while to realize that I wasn't doing something wrong if I slept till 9 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't need to feel guilty about it. These things are under your skin for so long that it does take a while.
It is.
But we instantly realized that we were in a good, safe place. And even though we didn't see people much for quite a while, we stayed very isolated. Even that was a gift. And we've spent some time feeling guilty about those that we've left behind, including my patients, our families, our children, our grandchildren. But
Well,
we love it.
you know what? I would just love to keep you both here forever. But I really think that what you'll find is, while yes, it was great to have you didn't see many people, and you're saying there will come a time here that you'll be saying, oh my gosh, do these people ever stop partying? That's what you're going to find, and you'll probably find that just as endearing. But it could happen.
No, it's just, I'm sorry, but it's just like now. Well, we have 4 months of working in the house. And finally, when we finish fixing, painting, do whatever the needs, I said, what we're going to do? We're looking at each other. So I started finding out places so I can volunteer, because I need to have this gap. Or no, I love my husband dearly, 24/7. We have been working for many years in that way. I just need something. But as per before, I couldn't just go shopping or things and back in Denver. But here, you don't have that, luxury, I can say it, anymore. So I became very involved in volunteer, to the point now that I have a whole schedule.
Well, there are so many nonprofit associations and volunteer groups here that you can be involved with, and I'm so happy for you, because that's very rewarding.
Correct.
Yeah. In this capacity at Telile, we actually support a lot of nonprofit associations by kind of giving them free advertising, and anything that we can do, we'll do, right? Because we are also the same. The thing is that I know, for example, that Brenda Chisholm Beaton has been in touch with both of you, and your book, To Be of Use. I often thought, does he really think he's not useful? Because you guys, you're really useful people.
Well, it's been a process to become useful, but I knew that sooner or later we would both find things to do, and that's what we're working on now. And I've been very fortunate to be writing a book about Cape Breton. It's called A Yankee in Cape Breton. It isn't yet, but I have 40 chapters, so I'm pretty close. And it might just be the first of a series, because there's so much to say. But that's kept me pretty busy, because in order to write that book, I've had to meet a lot of people to get information from firsthand, rather than just making my own observations. So it was traumatic to feel like I wasn't useful, but we worked so hard at first that kind of sublimated all that, and now we're starting to meet people and get involved.
Well, luckily for you, the Atlantic bubble has allowed for those such meetings,
Yeah, that's true.
I have such great love for Dr. Strang and Stephen McNeil, and I mean, politics aside, because I don't think too much about that, I am so grateful for everything they have done to keep the Atlantic bubble safe. No, we're out of it for now, but it doesn't mean it'll be like that forever. We still maintain that we're taking care of each other here, and that's what we have to do. And I'm so pleased that you're able to make those connections.
Oh, it's been a lot of fun. And every single one of them has been a positive thing. There hasn't been a single person that I've talked to where we just didn't hit it off or couldn't develop a relationship that led to more things. So, Father George McGinnis up in Big Pond, for example, I didn't know what to expect when I met him. In fact, I wasn't even sure exactly why. I was just told that he was somebody I needed to talk to, and that was true. And then things kind of branched out from there, and that's the way it's gone. And so I've told a few people that I probably know more about Cape Breton than a lot of Cape Bretoners do, because I've made the effort to do that. But it's a labor of love.
It also has a large part to do with you, because you are a wonderful person to speak with, and you have a very warm, you have a warm emotion thing about you.
Keep going.
Well, no, I'm serious, because not everybody has that ability, and you have it naturally, because people want to speak to you, because you're not only interesting, but you're kind, and you can tell.
Well, thank you for saying.
You have a very, beautiful soul.
Yeah, he is.
And I think the two of you are just dynamically cute together.
A lot of people say that.
Well, there's a reason, the respect is there. So I guess this journey that you've taken together, will make you closer again. I mean, I'm sure that you've always been close, but this probably has brought you together in a bit of a closer way. Because here you are in a different country, in a pandemic, renovating a house that you never planned to live in this quickly.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's fantastic. And here you are running around the country or the countryside, meeting all these new people and getting involved in groups. I mean, you're definitely of use.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's, I think, constantly learning, and having something every day that you could say, I didn't know that, and now I learned that, really keeps people going. I'm a student, natural-born student, so however I can get new information, and then take that information and find some way to make it useful to other people. I don't think you can do better than that, so that's what we're trying.
I have all kinds of more people to introduce you guys to, so
No.
Good.
I'll start making a list of people that you must meet, not even though you don't know why. Maybe we'll make it like a quiz. Why did I send you there? Do you know?
That would be fun.
Oh, there are a lot of characters like that.
Just go meet some person and then come back and tell me why I sent you.
Yeah, it's sort of like a puzzle, a riddle meeting.
I'm in.
I know. Anyway, is there anything else that you would like to talk about? Anything in particular?
I don't know. During this pandemic, I just have an urge to reach out for people, just to tell them, be kind, be safe, to follow the rules. And scientists has a good information for all of us. That's the only thing I can say.
Well, my sentiment about that is that I see the world as one big village. And I think our entire village is in the same pandemic. So the world needs to be kind to each other. We need to help each other. We need to work together. We need to leave politics out of health measure. I can't stress enough how worried I am about everybody. Yeah. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. We all cry, inside out or both. This has to end, and the only way we're going to end it is to make sensible decisions. I want you guys to be able to see your family and hug your grandchildren. I want to do the same with mine. This week, my grandchildren's schools have COVID. So I have my worry. I have my worry. And we all do, though, for different reasons, right? And I know that the holidays are coming and everybody's going to be like, oh, I want this and I want that. Well, you know what I want? I want next year to have the biggest Christmas party ever, because it's all done.
That's the right way to think about it.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah, just a little patience. In the beginning of my book, in the preface, the quote from Anne Frank, "Be kind and be courageous." and the circumstances that she was under. And this is not that different. There's a threat to everyone's life from something that we don't understand and don't really have control of yet, but we now know that we can achieve that. And we have to have be kind to each other, which means that you don't catch the disease and then give it to other people. You have to worry about other people, not just yourself. And second of all, it takes courage to do that. And so she was prophetic.
She was.
It's hard to think about her without getting tears in your eyes. But it's the right advice, I think.
It's absolutely the right advice. And you, as a doctor, I'm sure, read headlines all the time. I read one the other day. I was scrolling past on my Facebook, said that there was a doctor who was treating COVID-19 patients who died.
Correct, yeah.
To me, when I see those things, I just think that person with all that education and all that to give, and that has given so much, and who studied and paid for an education and practiced what he believed, to be put in a position where he had no PPE, where he had nobody smacking me on the back and saying, yes, I understand, we're going to help you. That angers me. That angers me. Makes me feel so bad for his family and his patients, but it angers me to think that politics could take over science.
Yes, and doctors get a lot of flack, and sometimes they deserve it.
No,
we deserve it.
But not all the time.
But you haven't heard any stories, I don't think, of anybody saying, I'm not going to do this job. I'm not going to take care of these patients because I might catch it and I might even die. You have not heard that from a doctor, a nurse, or anybody else. And that's always been, we don't talk about it. It's not even a question. When somebody comes in and they're sick, whether they pose a risk to you or not, we're going to take care of that person. And that's the risk you take for the benefit of being in that profession and being able to have a rich life doing it.
My sister, who I never assumed, she's much younger than I am. She was by my father's second marriage. And when she was growing up, I always thought, I don't know what's ever going to become of you. I don't know. Like, she was so much different than I was, although parts of her were the same. Because we had the same father. She was precocious. I loved her, but she was precocious. And all of a sudden, she decided to become a healthcare worker at the beginning of the pandemic. And I was shocked because I didn't think that was her interest. And the next thing I know, she posted a picture of herself with this mask on, and she said, I'm going to get to go and work in the COVID unit. And I have a patient, and I can't wait to help him get better.
God bless her.
And I was just like, and so she made sure that when he came out of the COVID unit, she got a picture with him and put it all over the place. And look, people, what you can accomplish. But start wearing your masks. Follow health regulations. And this is her message, right? And I have so many friends that were nurses. I know that if my mother had not died last September, right? Just before the pandemic started, my mother passed away. She was a nurse. This would have killed her. Watching this, it would have been so much heartbreak for her because she wouldn't have been able to help because she was ill, right? It would have killed her. She would have stayed awake at night. And I can't imagine those people that are in hospitals dying with nobody with them. That happened to one of my daughter's friends in Edmonton a few weeks ago. He died by himself at 36 in an isolation room.
Well, it's a horrible thing to think about, but here's what I will tell you. Nobody dies in a hospital alone.
No, I know.
Okay.
I know.
So somebody that cares about them and is risking their life to be there is going to be with them, holding their hand, trying to set up a conversation with the people that they love if they can, and doing everything they possibly can to compensate for that ugly situation.
Yes, and I know that these healthcare workers treat these patients like family, and I know that's true. I think what that post was getting at when it was posted was, that no family could be admitted. I think that was or could get there in time. Something like that, something to that effect. But I know a lot of nurses, and I respect them so much. I have so much respect for everybody, the people who clean, the cooks in the hospitals, the people in the nursing homes taking care of the elderly, all of them. And I really have a lot of love for the elderly right now, living through this and keeping their spirits up.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
It is indeed.
Well, we always had a Christmas party for the office, and I was always asked to say a few words to all the staff. And so this is doctors, nurses, assistants, medical assistants, people that work at the front desk, you name it. And, a real hierarchy, a huge hierarchy in terms of the discrepancy between the amount of education, the income, and everything else. And I always said the same thing. I said that every one of us is crucial to the optimum care of these patients, and if anybody falls down on their job, it's going to adversely affect what we all do. So everybody here is equally important. There is no top and there is no bottom. We're all in it together. We just do different things. And that's really, people would resonated with that, and then we could say,
it is just
Merry Christmas.
You work, or you have, there is no levels. It's not because I'm here or not. I have an experience in the hospital. I work in the ER. And my job, I was respiratory therapist and EMT, and I was in the half. And I see this woman coming at 2 o'clock with the bucket to clean up and everything. The more I know her, the more I'm going to find out that she had 2 jobs, and she looks tired. And sometimes it's like I was very quiet in the ER, and I said, you know what, why don't you just go eat something, everything. I took the bucket and the mop, and I cleaned it. Give me something to do anyway, because sometimes sitting for long hours, from midnight to 5 o'clock is kind of, hard for anybody if you don't have anything to do. And I mean, this is the way you're supposed to be treating everybody,
Absolutely right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that everybody should help each other whenever they can.
That's it.
That's really what I think. In my lifetime, I've had many, many jobs too. I've never believed that one specific duty was just my job, or I couldn't help somebody with something else.
Yeah, that is not my job.
I don't like that phrase at all.
I hate it. That's not my job.
That's not ever been my, no, that's not my thing. My parents taught me that, to be honest with you. They were workaholics, so they didn't understand not working. I understand not working. I have decided that when I'm not working, I'm not working. Myself and Netflix are going to have some time together, if my children are around, or, Anyway, you two, come back anytime.
Thank you very
You
much
have to
for having
interview
us.
me, remember?
That's right.
I can't
You're
wait.
next.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Thank you.